Gather round, little listener. You want a scary story? Sometimes the scariest things aren't bumps in the night or monsters under the bed. Sometimes the deepest chills come from things disappearing. Let Storybot spin you a tale about the shiver of losing money. Once, nestled in a cozy little town much like any other, lived a fellow named Arthur. Arthur wasn't rich, not by a long shot, but he was careful. Oh, so careful. He saved his coins in a sturdy jar, tracked his pennies in a little notebook, and felt a warm, safe glow whenever he looked at the numbers in his bank account. That money wasn't just paper and metal. It was a thick, warm blanket against the cold winds of worry. It was food on the table tomorrow, a roof over his head, next month, a little bit of breathing room. One Tuesday, Arthur went to pay for his groceries. He reached for his wallet, humming a little tune, but his fingers brushed against less. Fewer bills than he remembered. Odd, he mumbled. Must have miscounted. He paid, feeling a tiny prickle of unease, like a single cold droplet rolling down his spine. The next week, a bill arrived. An unexpected one, higher than it should be. Arthur checked his bank account online, his heart thumping a little faster. The number staring back at him was smaller than it should be. He squinted. He refreshed the page. He checked his little notebook. The numbers didn't match. It was like a mischievous imp had crept in during the night and smudged the ink, stealing a bit of the number away. The warm blanket felt thinner. Arthur started checking more often. Every day, sometimes twice. The numbers seemed to shrink, not always by much. Sometimes just a little, like a shy ghost nibbling at the edges. Other times, a bigger chunk would vanish, leaving a gaping hole where security used to be. He'd call the bank, pore over statements, but find only confusing explanations or tiny errors that couldn't account for the growing emptiness. The warm blanket kept getting thinner. The fear wasn't loud, not at first. It was a quiet dread, a cold draft slipping under the door. He started seeing shadows in his finances. Phantom expenses flickered at the edge of his vision. The sturdy jar on his shelf seemed lighter, even though he hadn't touched it. The world outside his window seemed grayer, the future less certain. The warm blanket was becoming threadbare, letting the icy chill seep through. He stopped sleeping well. He'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, picturing the numbers dwindling like sand slipping through an invisible crack in the floor. What if it all disappeared? What would happen then? Where would he go? The not knowing was a vast, dark room, and he was lost inside it. One morning, he logged into his account, his hands trembling. He needed to make a payment he absolutely had to make. He stared at the screen. The number was on. Not zero, but so terrifyingly low it might as well have been. It was like looking into a deep, dark well where his warm, safe blanket used to be. There was nothing left but a cold, echoing emptiness. The security, the future, the breathing room, all swallowed by the silent, creeping horror of loss. He felt a scream build in his chest, but only a choked gasp escaped. He was exposed, vulnerable, with nothing between him and the cold wind. And that, little listener, is the scary story of losing money. It's not always a sudden crash or a thief in the night. Sometimes it's a slow, chilling disappearance. It's the feeling of the floor vanishing beneath your feet, the warmth fading from your world, leaving you shivering and alone in the dark uncertainty. It's the ghost of security, haunting you with what was and what might never be again. A truly chilling tale, wouldn't you agree? How about a happier story now? Maybe one about finding a lucky penny. I'll gather close once more. You seek another shiver, another tale from the shadowy corners? We all know that sometimes the deepest frights aren't found in lonely woods, but in the spaces between people. Let me tell you a scary story about relationships. Once, there were two people, let's call them Alara and Leo. When they first found each other, it was like discovering a hidden, sunny clearing after a long walk in the fog. Their connection felt like a warm hearth, a place to shake off the chill from outside. They built a little world together, brick by brick, with shared laughter, whispered secrets, and comfortable silences. It felt safe. It felt like home. But sometimes, little listener, homes can change. Not all at once. Not with a crash or a bang. It started subtly. A stray word from Leo, sharp like a hidden shard of glass where a soft cushion used to be. A silence that wasn't comfortable anymore, but stretched thin and cold, like ice forming over the warm hearth. Alara felt a tiny tremor of unease, like noticing a familiar picture on the wall was suddenly hanging crooked. She tried to straighten it. She spoke softly. She laughed a little louder, trying to bring back the warmth. But the crookedness seemed to spread. The shared jokes started to feel hollow, echoing in a space that felt bigger, emptier. Leo's presence, once a comforting weight beside her, began to feel heavy, watchful. The walls of their little world, once protective, started to feel closer, tighter. Alara found herself tiptoeing, choosing her words carefully, afraid of disturbing something. She wasn't sure what. It was like the air itself had grown thin and fragile. She started to feel smaller inside their shared space, her own thoughts quieter, her own feelings pushed into corners like dust bunnies. She'd look at Leo, searching for the sunny clearing, but sometimes found only shadows in his eyes, a coolness where the warmth used to blaze. The truly scary part wasn't a monster jumping out. Oh no, it was slower, creepier. It was the dawning chill, the slow fade of light in their shared home. It was looking across the room at the person who was supposed to be her closest companion, her safest harbor, and feeling a prickle of fear. It was a horrifying whisper in her own heart that asked, "Who is this person? Where did my home go?" One evening, sitting across from Leo, the fire long dead in the hearth, Alara felt it completely. It wasn't just a crooked picture. The whole room felt tilted, unfamiliar. Leo looked at her, but his gaze felt like locks clicking shut. She was inside the house they built together, but she felt utterly alone, trapped not by walls of brick, but by invisible walls of silence and distance. The person who meant everything to her had become a source of quiet dread. The connection itself felt like cold chains. And that, little listener, is a truly scary story about relationships. Not about ghosts or goblins, but about the terrifying way warmth can turn to chill, safety can twist into confinement, and the person you know best can become a frightening stranger, right there beside you. It's a fear of being lost, not in the woods, but inside the very connection that was meant to keep you safe. A shiver-inducing thought. Now, perhaps a story about something bright and cheerful. A singing bird, maybe,